Hi, I'm GM Matthew Sadler.
And I'm WIM Natasha Regan. In this video, we are looking at an opening and we're looking at the Tiger Modern. This is named after Tiger Hillip Persson, the Swedish GM, who likes to play it for black. In this game, AlphaZero is white and Stockfish is black. And black's plan normally involves delaying the kingside development a bit to avoid making any weakness there, and instead initiating play on the queen side. So AlphaZero finds a new plan against this, an over-the-board novelty with the move 11a4, and starts a plan using both of its rook's pawns. We'll see black gets into some trouble.
All right, so remember to subscribe if you like our channel, and let's dive into the game. Right, let's dive into the game, and the opening moves were of the modern defence. Remember, AlphaZero is white and Stockfish is black. So e4 g6, d4 bishop g7, knight c3 and d6, and this is very typical for the modern.
In the modern defence, black avoids filling the centre with pawns at an early stage and looks to attack the centre with pieces and early pawn pushes on the wings.
Yeah, so the TCC book specified actually one of White's sharpest attempts against the modern. Essentially, you're playing pretty much the white side of an anti-dragon, putting the bishop on e3, queen on d2, lining up, preparing something like bishop h6 to exchange off the dark squared bishops and weaken black's kingside, and f3. And actually, what you actually see here is that, as Natasha said, black's in this variation is keeping its kingside pieces, except for the dark square bishop, at home. And by keeping the knight on g8, it means that white doesn't get any chance to launch an attack with bishop h6. So white has to think about other ways in order to well, make some progress on the king side. And there's a very interesting thing. It's this plan of a6 and b5.
The creative GM, Swedish GM Tiger Hillip Persson, is an expert in black's major way to meet this. Keeps the black's king's knight at home as long as possible, and that avoids giving white a target there. And so black's now expanding on the queen side. Yeah,
and black's going to aim to go something like bishop b7 and c5. Maybe play c takes d4 at some stage, turn it into a sort of a dragon Sicilian, and then quickly get the knight out and the king across.
And black's idea is that, like a tiger, black can pounce later.
That's certainly true. So what does AlphaZero do? Well, AlphaZero's plan is actually extremely clever. Also very aggressive, of course, which is what you expect, but it really, yeah, you sort of said understands what's going to happen in the game very, very well. So first of all, h4, threatening to play h5. So black meets it with the move h5, just blocking any easy way for white to attack. And then AlphaZero straight away is going to play its knight into the weakness created by h4, h5, which is g5. A very nasty square really for black, attacking the pawn on f7. Bishop b7, knight g5. Now you'll notice that AlphaZero is not castling yet, not castling queenside, which is actually quite unusual. I mean, in this line, white normally castles queenside and then tries to get on with an attack. But AlphaZero is keeping its options open. Because well, it's actually anticipating what's going to happen, and it's got a very sharp idea in mind. So black plays c5, attacking the centre, and AlphaZero plays a very interesting line here. D takes c5, knight takes c5, and this has been played a few times before, but now comes AlphaZero's novelty, and that's this move a4.
AlphaZero also delays committing its own king and plays with rook's pawns on both sides of the board.
Yeah, that's right. And it's quite deceptive, actually, how difficult this is for black. I think the main problem for black is that all of its pieces, you look at the knight on c5, attacking the pawn on e4, bishop on b7, attacking the pawn on e4, bishop g7 actually attacking a knight on c3, which is defending a pawn on e4, and this exposed b pawn on b5, which could chase a knight away, which is defending e4. Well, you might be detecting a trend there. It's all of black's play is based around attacking the e4 square. But white, in actual fact, has simply consolidated that pawn with this pawn to f3. And, well, I mean, this bishop on g7, knight on c5, pawn on b5, they might be quite dangerous if white's king had castled queenside. You know, I mean, they'd combine along the long diagonal against the knight on c3. But because AlphaZero can still put its king on the king side, that's also not a great danger. So in actual fact, there's some sense in which black's strategy is kind of aiming at the wrong things. And, well, this move a4 puts black into a rather tricky situation. I mean, black doesn't want to play a move like b takes a4. After a move like bishop c4, knight h6, knight takes a4, well, essentially black doesn't have any more queenside play. And there's a big problem with this knight on h6, which is completely out of play and a target for the queen d2, bishop e3.
Can't really move anywhere.
No, you can't.
Back to where it came from.
You can't move anywhere. So, I mean, this is going to be a very unpleasant position for black. So black, well, has to keep on going, basically. Black's got to well, throw some more wood onto the fire and take some more risks. b4 is kind of possible. And then probably the simplest move. I mean, I was looking at knight d5, but simply knight d1 is pretty reasonable here, attacking the pawn on b4. And it's quite difficult for black to defend that pawn, actually.
This really reminds me of the 150 attack, because you have exactly this a4 and b4 and knight d1 in that all the time.
Yeah, the 150 attack against the modern and the perk, that's with a knight on f3, but a similar structure with this queen d2, bishop e3. And you do also try and get in, you know, h4 and try and get in a knight into g5. I mean, here the problem when black plays b4 is that the c4 square is weak. So, for example, a move like a5 to defend b4, bishop b5 check is quite awkward. I mean, probably black's got to play king f8, which is not looking very good. If black plays a move like queen a5, then again we've got bishop c4. And if black's forced to play this move knight h6, it's always got a horrifically placed knight. You know, black's in order to try and keep on playing some normal moves, you know, black's having to make a lot of concessions. Well, Stockfish played probably the best idea, queen a5. And here the second part of AlphaZero's plan comes in, and it's this move bishop d4, which is very, very nice. I mean, black's bishop on g7 is black's pride and joy. I mean, cutting across the entire white position. So AlphaZero, we know this theme, prepares to exchange off black's most active pieces and only leave it with passive pieces. I think the key part about it is that if knight f6, then we can just play e5, and well, d takes e5 is impossible because the knight on c5 hangs. If black plays bishop takes, oops, I'm terribly sorry. If black plays the move bishop takes d4, there we are. Then after queen d4, well, e5 is no longer possible now because the queen has been distracted away from d8, so d6 is simply hanging. And of course, when the queen comes to d4, attacking the rook on h8, we've also got the threat of b4, forking the queen on a5 and a knight on c5. It is amazing, actually. I mean, it just all hangs together beautifully. But Stockfish plays these tough defensive moves, bishop f6. Simply holding the tension in the position and saying to white, well, come on then, what have you got more for me? But actually, well, AlphaZero now exploits its flexibility, the fact that it hasn't castled queenside, and just prepares to go kingside. And once that king has castled kingside, then a takes b5 is going to be a big threat because the rook on a1 will be defended. Yeah, now in a correspondence game, black played, the move rook d8, and castles b4, knight a2 takes, and f6. And I mean, it is all looking pretty grim. Somehow black survived in this correspondence game, but it did not look very pleasant at all. f4 is a very interesting idea, just keeping the knight there. And knight h3 is also quite strong. b3, and then this was my favourite idea, c takes b3 and queen a7, attacking the bishop on b7. There's quite a few variations, but the basic idea is that knight a1, queen b7, knight c2 allows queen c6 check.
Picking up the knight.
Picking up the knight. But there's other lines as well. I mean, it's an unpleasant position for black to play. Maybe the more natural move would be to play b4. And again, we can try knight a2 takes, and b3. Let's have a look at b3. I play knight c3, knight f6, castles, castles, and bishop c4. And there's a very severe problem it's always black's problem in this line. It's just a tactical problem. B takes c2, you think, oh, has black managed to survive, you know, keep that b pawn that was under pressure and get its king castled and not have its king's knight on a stupid position. But there's a bit of a tactic in this position.
Looks like you can still go b4.
You certainly can. b4, that absolutely kills it. So queen b4. And bishop takes f7 check wins the queen. So all sorts of actually far from obvious tactical problems in this position. What Stockfish does is incredible. I don't think that any human player could ever dream of playing like this, but it's Stockfish, so it's not that bad. I mean, what Stockfish actually says is, this pawn on a4, that's the biggest source of pressure on my position. Well, then I am going to spend a couple of tempi just to remove it. And once I've removed a pressure point, show me what you've got left. So yeah, wins a pawn, puts black into a few horrible pins, but it is hanging together. Now at this moment, AlphaZero again very typically swings around to the other side. Queenside has been neutralized. It's going to come back on the king side with f4. And now we've got a very big threat of e5 here. So Stockfish plays rook d8 to stop it. And here this is actually a very interesting moment, in actual fact. It's the crucial moment of the game.
There are many interesting possibilities here. What AlphaZero chooses is a line that leads to a clear advantage, but Stockfish has just enough actually in the game to be able to scrape a draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those moments where AlphaZero was hesitating between a few lines, actually. One of the lines that AlphaZero was very interested in was just to play this consolidating move, bishop f3. Obviously, e5 is a threat now because the bishop on c6 is loose. And after e5, the idea was just to retreat back to e3. And obviously, e5, it seems to have gained black a little bit of respite. But of course, now white is capable of playing f takes e5 and opening up the f file, and that means that the f7 pawn will be weak behind it. There was some, this was, I think, AlphaZero's main line, b3, sacrificing another pawn, rook d1, keeping up the pressure on black's position, and then in this position, rook takes a6. And yeah, I mean, black's still under very big pressure here. I think AlphaZero gave itself a 64%, 64.1% expected score in this position. There's also another interesting idea, which was the idea that I was keenest on, which is to play this move, Queen e3. Just getting out of this pin and trying to play e5. Then we get this, incredible Stockfish defense, Queen b4. And then there's two lines. I mean, I was looking at some crazy stuff with rook takes a4, takes and e5, trying to get this going. But AlphaZero was lukewarm, I have to say, when I put this position to it. What AlphaZero liked was this move, knight f3. Just protecting the bishop on d4, and asking black some difficult questions about where exactly it wants to develop. The main line was knight h6, takes, knight d4, queen c5. Stockfish desperately hanging on with the pins there, just to keep anything going, and then this very interesting move, knight d1. When in actual fact, AlphaZero just wants to play b3, and chase the knight back and then take on a6. Again, a very nice position, a clear advantage, though not, not winning. There are a lot of tempting options. In the end, AlphaZero went for this quite forcing line, which in actual fact, I think there's only one defense, which I don't think would ever occur to a human, but which, of course, Stockfish manages to calculate out. Really quite amazing. So AlphaZero took on f6. And Stockfish took with a pawn on f6. After knight f6, this move queen d4 is very, very strong. So queen c7, f5. Slightly surprising, you're not playing e5, you're playing f5. The idea is that you're threatening f takes g6 and knight e6. Which is very, very unpleasant, and it's actually very, very difficult for Black to get himself organised. I think knight c3, queen c3. I think this was the main line, and then afterwards, AlphaZero was going to take on f6 there. Just some very, very dangerous lines there. What Stockfish does, it's very typical of Stockfish, to be honest. It's e takes f6, and what this does, it puts, even though it's very, very ugly, it puts pressure on White's position. It attacks an AlphaZero piece, which means that there's something extra that AlphaZero has to worry about whilst going forward. And well, queen d4 was played again. Looks super strong, pinning the pawn on f6 to the rook on h8, and of course the knight on g8 can't move. But now this incredible idea from Stockfish, rook b8. And the idea is simply to play queen b6 and challenge the queens. And of course, if White exchanges off queens, then after that he'll have to move the knight. It'll cost him another tempo because his knight will be en prise. So AlphaZero took and played this move bishop c4. Looks incredibly strong, attacking the pawn on f7. And then, yeah, Stockfish again finds an only move here. Queen c5 to exchange off queens. Takes. And the reason Stockfish exchanges on c5, it moves a pawn from d6 to c5. So after knight takes f7, you're not actually attacking it. So somehow with this amazing maneuver, e takes f6, rook b8, queen b6, Stockfish has managed, in a tremendously ugly fashion to sort of survive.
Still visually looks quite good for White to me.
It looks very good for White. I mean, I think Stockfish was giving this a plus 0.8 pawns or something, so a very nice advantage. But somehow, I think the position is I suppose messed up enough. For example, the rook on b8 is attacking a pawn on b2. That it's hard to keep control of it all. And what actually happens in the game is that AlphaZero does this great work in getting its e-pawn rolling. Here you see Stockfish, just trying to gain counterplay by getting its rook amongst the position. And this pawn moves to e6, and the rook moves to d7. And Black's rook on h7 is very passive. But by taking all the queenside pawns, Stockfish has managed to get some decent counterplay. And it's the game is I spent quite a long time actually analysing this game because I was wondering, did AlphaZero miss a clear win in this position? But it doesn't look like it. This all seems to be a pretty good play. Rook takes a3, king d6, and then Stockfish is going to bring its king over and also have its rook to deal with those two passed pawns. And I did actually wonder at this stage, analysing it with my engine, whether AlphaZero had missed a trick here. It played rook h3 in this position, and after takes, king f7, then the position ended up as a draw. The king picks up the h pawn, and there's no way that White can possibly get himself organised to win this. I had wondered whether you had a cunning trick, which is this move g3. And after rook h5, g4, rook h6, you play rook takes c2 with a lovely little skewer there. Because if you play knight takes c2, rook a6, and you're going to have rook and pawn against knight. Unfortunately, this is actually a draw because White can't actually hold the g-pawn. Just knight e3 is coming in, and then it's king and knight versus king and rook, and obviously Stockfish is going to hold that. So that was the game. I mean, I think a big novelty from AlphaZero on move 11, this move 11a4, was very, very strong. And yeah, I mean, essentially black has to pick, well, white's got a pick of choices to put black into a rather nasty situation. And it's just the question, you know, which one is the very best. The one AlphaZero chose was clearly better for white, but yeah, some fantastic defense from Stockfish, held the draw. But I wouldn't be repeating this line with black anyway. But, so there we are. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe.
Absolutely. Click on that subscribe button, and we've got, I think about 3 or 4 more videos planned, so they'll be coming up soon. Keep your eyes peeled, and thanks for watching.